Hey y'all, I'm just getting my iPad set up so I'll be able to see comments and giving a minute for people to jump on. Cutting the TV down. If y'all hop on, say hi so I know you're there. Today I'm just doing a couple of wine tumblers that are going to be similar to this style of beach cup. For any of those that didn't get to watch the other one, hey Sandy, how are you? Hey Terry. So when I did my other beach cup tutorial, I did it on the Tumbler Basic page, and then I was trying to transfer my videos over, and I don't know why, but I'm losing the sound when I try to do that. So from now on, I'm probably going to do my tutorials here, just because there seem to be less problems when I do. I want to try and move my iPad over to this side so I'm not turning my back on y'all. So I wanted to start on time. So I'm still trying to set up my junk, so I apologize. I think I'm about ready. If y'all watch the other beach cup tutorial, this one is done almost the exact same way. I tend to use a little less black, if not at all, because these are not as big. These are from Hog that I just got, and if I'm being honest, I don't love the lids. I'm not sure how I'm gonna handle that yet. I'm having issues with the lids, but I like to do a cup from start to finish. So if you want to do this with me, that would be awesome. And I will walk through the steps and keep it as simple as I can. And if you have any questions at all, ask me. And if I get working and miss a comment, because if they start scrolling, sometimes I miss them. If somebody has watched my other tutorials, y'all basically know how I tend to do things. So if you can answer the question, feel free to jump on and answer the question as it's asked. So I do my beach cups start to finish. Not a lot of prep, except I took a tiny piece of electrical tape and run it around the very edge so that I'll pull that off later, and when I do my final coat of epoxy, I won't have any tape, and I'll run the epoxy all the way to the edge, and that way I know I'll get a good seal. So for this first part, it's just right around the very edge, and I don't measure anything. I'm an eyeballer, and today I'm using outdoor acrylic paint as my base coat. You can use any kind of paint for your base coat, and I just do one coat. It's going to look real ugly, but as textured and dimensional as this cup is going to end up looking, it won't matter at all. I go for a realistic look, and I go for a very dimensional look. So I like to play with India inks as well as alcohol inks. So I'm just going to jump right in and get started. Let me grab my brush. I didn't want to give y'all the old armpit shot there. So if I do, sorry. I don't know if anybody is commenting. Oh, there they are. I'm trying to figure out YouTube, y'all. This is only my second time doing one of my lives on the YouTube channel. And this is, like I said, it's just going to be a messy base coat of white so that my colors will be nice and bright. And I am painting on what I like to use to epoxy most of the time, which is a Dollar Tree pencil caddy. They spin, so while I'm working, I'm able to just kind of spin it around and do what I want to do. If I am not designing with alcohol inks, then I usually leave the cup right on this, and I do the hanging method for my epoxy unless dropping inks is part of my design like the beach cups are. And I get a more consistent, better finish that way. So, how are y'all doing this afternoon? I get bored sitting here talking to myself, and I feel like a psych patient. I'm glad nobody's home. Sometimes my dog will tend to start singing. I got 3 of them. So if they do, I will apologize now. They'll do it for 2 or 3 minutes, and they do it a couple times a day because they think they're great singers. So again, I'm using a Hog wine tumbler. I'm going to go on and do 2 of these at the same time because I got a order for 2 of them. The lady picked them up. She ordered 2 and picked them up yesterday, and she liked them, so she said she wanted to order 2 more exactly like them. So we're going to crank out. I think I'm going to actually make 4 today, but I'll make 2 on the video. I usually don't do more than 2 at a time so that I don't feel rushed when I'm playing in the inks and everything. So if y'all can see, this is a real messy coat of just white acrylic paint. And again, I'm going to go on and do 2. And then we will blow dry them. Thank you, Terry. I try to keep it as easy as possible because it's not rocket science, y'all. It's just steps. And if you follow the steps, it's still not going to turn out exactly like mine. Just like if I followed your steps, mine wouldn't turn out exactly like yours because I might be a little heavy-handed or lighter-handed than you. And that's okay. They're all going to be a little bit different. Or my drops might be bigger than your drops or whatever. It doesn't really matter. They're all going to turn out pretty. And then we all decorate them up in our own way. So again, what I'm using, and this isn't what I use all the time. I kind of use whatever I have out and handy. I'm using white outdoor acrylic paint just because it was sitting out on my workstation. You can use any kind of light colored, either light blue or white. And it doesn't have to be a specific brand. I'm not one that talks about brands a lot because I switch up all the time depending on what's on sale. I just got some Hog wine tumblers, haven't used them yet. What's the issue with the lids? The lids are, they look kind of cool because they have a sliding, let me see, I'll grab one in a minute. Oh, here's one on this other cup I've got going. So this is a, like a sunset cup. These are the lids, and when I first saw them, I kind of liked them because they slide open and close. But my problem with them is on most of them, the little rubber thing that goes around the outside, on most of them, they're twisted up. And I don't like the fit when they go in to the cup. See, it's not going right in. Some of them go in like real easy. But when I slide it in, you can watch the rubber right there. It's rolling, and it's not a good seal, and it pushes down, like, can y'all see how it's down into the cup and not sitting like on the cup? So I have a feeling that I mean, they just push way down, which is going to show this silver rim. And I don't like it. And I don't know that my customers are going to like it. And it pops off like real easy. It's not a good seal. Can y'all see how it's just, I barely touch it and it's not a good seal. So I think I'm going to contact her and see if I can get other lids, because I don't like these at all. And I don't like to sell something when I have a feeling it's going to come back to me and people are going to complain about it. I want to have another one I'm going to be able to replace it with, because as a customer, I wouldn't be happy with that. So I have a feeling that other people aren't going to be either. I did order wine tumblers from them before, and I got a different kind of lid. It wasn't these sliding ones. So I'm going to contact her and see if I can change them out or what I need to do, because these aren't sealing. So, all right. So I just did a quick base coat on 2 of my cups. And if the blow dryer sound bugs y'all, then cut your volume down for a minute, because I'm going to give these a quick blow dry. So I can just keep it moving. Yeah, Sandy, I hope you have different lids. Like I said, I had different ones the last time. Let me hit this other cup real quick, y'all. But these, I just know that people aren't going to like them. My husband came in my craft room the other day, and I was using my new Dyson hair dryer, because I had left this one down at my craft room down in Florida. And he's like, I did not spend that money on that blow dryer for you to use it in your craft room. So that just made me laugh like I cared. All right, so wine tumbler, all we've done is a quick base coat. And the next thing that I do is my glitter on the bottom. It's going to be very much like this, except I'm going to use champagne. On this one, I used copper. Can y'all see? And on these, I'm kind of liking the way the champagne colored glitter is. Again, it doesn't matter what brand you use. I use whatever I think is going to look pretty, and I look for a deal, and those were pretty cheap. So, and I put on my glitter, I'm just going to use spray sealer, and I'm going to pull a box out that I keep in here so I can hold it over and spray. So my spray goes into the box, and then I'll sprinkle my glitter on. And I'm going to try to keep it where y'all can see good what I'm doing. I do have my phone on my tripod, so I can try to move y'all around as I'm doing things. This is kind of a trick when you're trying to do videos, is to not get caught up in what you're doing and forget people are watching. So I just use like a little cardboard box. I ink over it when I'm airbrushing and things like that. And I lay a piece of paper over it, over the opening. See? And I'll try to angle you down just a little bit. And again, I've got my Dollar Tree pencil caddy that holds my things I'm working on. Toy baton from Dollar Tree with a little ball stuck up in it. And I like it because I can pull it out and do what I need to do. So I'm going to stand up for just a minute, and I'm going to spray the end of this and open my glitter. And I spray, like I said, right down into my box. And I use my sealer, and then I turn right around and spray it on it to actually seal it. So I'm just applying my sand right now. Anybody making one of these along with me? I have to spray more on the bottom down there. It starts to dry. Sometimes I don't work quick enough or spray quite enough. I am not a glitter girl. Some of y'all that do all these glitter cups, ooh, I don't know how you don't have a mess all the time, because I can't do it without making a mess. And now I'm just spraying kind of over where I just glittered so that don't fall off. And then I can tap it and see where I need some more, which is on the bottom. And then a little spray. And then I will hang it back up on my caddy so I can grab the other one. And I'm going to do the exact same thing. Like I said, I'm doing 2 of everything. So if y'all have a question, I'm trying to keep looking at my iPad. And I'm just glittering, adding my sand. What is at the end of the toy baton? I usually use the little footballs, and for wine cups, I use, oh my goodness, these little, here we go, these little round balls that have silly faces on them. They work perfect for the wine cups to be able to slide them on and off easier, because I don't tend to wait till things are perfectly dry before I'm moving them around, so I don't want it to fit too snug on there. Alright, so I think that's good for my sand. Just got paint. I get paint. I make a mess, y'all. The people that keep their craft rooms so clean and they never make messes or have to wear gloves, that's not me. Alright, so let me set that down and then dump my glitter back in my drawer. And then I can just slide my box right out of the way. Come on. Okay. All right. And wipe my hands off. Let's see. Are those from Dollar Tree as well? Yeah, they do sell the little ones. I honestly can't remember if that's where I got it, because that's a 3-pack. I might have got that up at Kroger, my grocery store. But they do sell those little round balls, but it might be individual. up there. Let's see, I'm trying to see if I have any other questions that I haven't answered. Okay. I think we're staying caught up, y'all. Like I said, if I do miss a question, I apologize. So all we've done is base coat white and then added a little sand on the end. And now sometimes when I pull these off of here, because like I said, I don't always wait till they dry. Sometimes you'll get a little paint on your hands. I don't so much worry about that. You can see my little setup there is, and like I said, I usually epoxy on these unless I'm dropping inks to do a beach cup. And I'm going to be doing the cups right over here, and I will move y'all closer once I start doing these actual cups. I'm gonna get these on. It's a little tighter fit on the footballs, of course. So get this one off. And I'm trying to keep them both over here on the same side so you'll be able to see everything. This football is a little bit fatter, but that's not going anywhere. And I'm gonna slide y'all up. Once I start dropping inks on there, I will make sure that y'all can see better. But anyway, so far all we've done is white paint and then added some glitter on the bottom for sand. And the next thing I'm going to do is mix my epoxy, which I have already measured out. Like I said, I try to be ready when I know there's going to be people having to sit and watch me do each step. I know that gets a little boring, but when I mix my epoxy, like I said, I eyeball everything. And I always make sure that I would have a little bit left. When you are doing your cups, you've got about a 30 to 40 minute window once you put epoxy on your cup that you can actually mess with it. And I mess with it a lot, especially when I do the waves with the India ink at the end. I like mine to be thick and textured, and my India ink looks a little clumpy the way that I do it. And then I'll let it spin for just a few minutes. With the air hits the India ink setting on the epoxy, it will almost start to look pasty. And at that point, I'll take a popsicle stick and I'll start messing with it and making the shapes of my waves. So a lot of people ask, how do I get my waves to look the way that they do? And so I'll make sure to have the camera where y'all can see good. When I mix my epoxy, once I start getting it stirred, I lay my blow dryer on the counter, like flat, and I set my cup right in front of where it blows out, and then I stir just for about 20 seconds. It warms up the epoxy and it thins it a little bit, and it also tends to take out a lot of your air bubbles. So I don't know if y'all have ever done that, but I just, again, I'm trying to make it where y'all can see everything. So I just cut it on, lay it right on the counter, and then mix. Make sure you get your sides and everything. And it starts to get, like I said, thinner when you do that. And I like that consistency to work with. I'm going to pull out a couple of gloves because once I get my epoxy on, I'm changing my legs, y'all, for the tripod. Sorry about that. Once I get my epoxy on, I'll change gloves and put a clean one on because I tend to get ink everywhere. But I love playing with inks. So now let me cut my turner on. And I'm going to start shaking up. I always start with India inks on my cup, and they start out looking real ugly. If you watched my other beach one, then you'll know they start out looking real plump. If you're trying to do a cup with just India inks, a lot of people have not been pleased because you don't get the kind of flow that you do with alcohol inks. But I love using a combination of alcohol and India, and you get some real, I don't see if y'all can see how dimensional. I don't know if you can really tell in the picture there, but you get some really cool dimension from mixing India inks with alcohol inks. So I like to play and experiment with stuff, and I just found that a lot of people make comments on how dimensional they look when you do that. So when you're working on the tumblers, after you get your epoxy on, you can use, as long as you have at least two different color blues, and then if you have like maybe a lighter, like a teal, almost like a teal green, for when you get down to the shallow end. It's kind of like the deep end and the shallow end, and of course the shallow is by the glitter. So right now I'm just going to glitter the cups. I mean, not glitter, sorry, epoxy. And I always first just do to the sand, and then I'll do my sand last, because I don't want to have a lot of the glitter move around. Even though I sprayed sealer on it, I don't want it to move up my cup. So it's just easier for me to throw the epoxy on starting at the top and then work pushing it down to the bottom towards the sand, and then I'll put epoxy on that last when I know I don't have to run my finger back up the top of the cup. So I'll just make sure to get all around here first, going down to the sand. And then, like I said, I'll do the sand after. And since I'm doing 2 cups, and I don't want the glitter everywhere, I'm going to go on and do the top of this one now also. And then, like I said, I'll go back and do the part with the glitter on it. I just don't want to slide that glitter around a lot. Even though it has sealer on it, just the pressure of my finger, I guess I'm heavy-handed, that I will start pulling the glitter around. So to avoid it, I just don't run my fingers over it until I have to. And that works for me. Y'all, there is no... I've had people watch my other video and then calling, private message me, asking me questions. Can I do this or can I do that? And there ain't no rules, y'all. You can do anything you want. If you think something would be cool, try it. I mean, don't be afraid of making mistakes, because I'm kind of known for saying at the end of the day, it's just a damn cup. So if you don't like it, that's okay. But you're not going to find new things to do or new looks if you just copy what other people are doing. Take what we do, or anybody that does these tutorials or anything, as kind of a guide to get you started, and then think about how you can expand on it. I started out looking at, what colors people were using for beach cups and stuff like that. But I tend to like, you know, like a more realistic effect. So I just started experimenting with ways that I could get that. And I'm definitely happy to share ideas or techniques and things like that. But don't be afraid to try something, because you'll learn new things and then you can show me what to do, you know, to make other things. We're all good at some things and we all suck at some things. I suck at glitter, y'all. I have a ton of it in my drawer, but it seems like I wear more than I get on the cup. I've done only about 3 cups with glitter, and that's because they were for good friends that ordered them. But I would not say glitter is my forte. Um, I got some upcoming surgery in a month or so, and I figure when I can't walk, they're doing surgery on my hip. So I figure when I can't walk, maybe I'll sit around and play with some glitter and just try some new things. But I'm not going to take a lot of orders at that time in case I can't do them. Um, let's see. Are those from Dollar? Okay, so I'm caught up on comments. All right, so I have epoxy now on both of these cups. And like I said, once you get your epoxy on, you have about 30 or 40 minutes to kind of play with the cup and get it the way you want it. So I'm going to put on a clean glove and start dropping some inks and just show y'all the way that I do it. And like I said, it doesn't mean it's the right way. This is just the way that I do it. So let me see if I can angle y'all a little better. Can y'all see the cup that way, or would it be better from the side? Try to move some of my other junk I've got sitting around and see where I can put you. Can y'all see the cup, top of the cups there, kind of? Might be able to turn them a little bit. So I like to start up here with the darker colors and then work my way down the cup to the lighter colors. Thanks, Sandy, for letting me know. So I'm going to start out with India ink, and this is just plain old blue. Their plain blue is kind of like a darker blue. And like I said, when you see these, they're not going to spread like the alcohol inks do. They look like they're just sitting on the cup. They will, they kind of roll right off the epoxy too. You have to kind of angle it just right for it to, did you see that one, how it rolled off? So you have to do it when it's on the top of the cup. Come on now. There we go. India inks, they're just very, very different than alcohol inks. But they're going to have some real pretty effects on your cup. So I like to do darker colors. And then I'm going to throw in other blue. That was regular blue. This one is iridescent blue. It has a real pretty little metallic look to it. So I'm going to add a little bit of this one. And like I said, I always do my India inks. Oh, that one squirted out ugly. I always do my India inks first because I want them to start settling into the epoxy. See, I told y'all when you first start these cups, they look real ugly and real plain. Now on the bigger cups, I'll take and add a dot of black on both of these, because on the bigger ones, I like to do caves with animals coming out of them, see, for that effect. On these, because they're smaller and she doesn't want any fish or anything on them, so I'm not going to do that with these. So I've added 2 India inks so far, and now down at the shallow end, I'm going to put a couple of drops of teal. This is, again, it's Bombay India ink. And like I always start out with my India inks first. And darker colors at the top and lighter colors towards the sand, just like the real ocean would be. Lighter towards the shoreline and darker towards the top. And I always say they just look real ugly. Oh, my son's just pulling in on his new motorcycle. So that's what they look like so far with just the India ink. They don't look good. Let me shut this door real quick. Sorry about that. My 16-year-old just got his first motorcycle, so I didn't know if he was blasting y'all. Okay, so this next color I'm using is Stonewash. And you can use any color blues that you have. And you're basically just going to start dripping them everywhere that you see white. Starting anywhere on the cup. And these are going to start playing with your India inks. And they get real pretty, y'all. And I'm just dripping, no rhyme or reason. Can y'all see good enough in that position? Is that one alcohol ink? I'm sorry, were you talking about the teal? The teal was an alcohol ink. And now I've switched. No, I'm sorry. It is not an alcohol ink. It's an India ink in those bigger bottles. And now everything I'm using are alcohol inks. The next one I'm going to start dropping is Aquamarine. And I don't grab the same colors every time, y'all. I just look up on my shelf over here and I'll grab 3 or 4 different blues from light to dark. And so they may not be the same ones every time. And again, they're going to look a little bit different every time you make one. And you're just dropping inks now straight into the wet epoxy, and it's going to blend in the epoxy, and it's going to start blending into the India inks that we dropped. And then what do I have next? This one is turquoise. So I'm going to put some pretty turquoise down here by the shallow end. Now the shape of the wine tumblers, you might get a little blue that flips over into your sand. Don't worry about that, because in my next coat of epoxy, if any of the blue or green drizzles down and I don't like it, then I can sprinkle a little bit of fresh glitter on top of my next layer. And I can do that because there's no rule that says I can't. So I found that on some of my cups I need to, so I just do it. Because again, there's no reason and no rule that says you can't. So I've got a little bit of colors that start to separate up towards the top. So I'm going to go back through and just add a few drops of my darker color where it started to open up and things are moving around. Can y'all see how pretty those are looking? Got some white showing up there and here. And then I'll just kind of let those spin for a few minutes. And I'm going to start dropping some of my white India ink, which is what I told you. I tend to keep this one a little thicker on purpose. And what I did is I left the cap open and let some air get to it. And I did that for a few hours and it got thicker. And I like to play with it that way. Um, you'll see this one will not blend out like my other colors did. And I just put it around the shoreline. And I'm going to let it spin for a little bit. And then I'm going to start messing with it with a popsicle stick to show y'all how I do the wave effects. You see how thick this is, how it's not moving a whole lot? And that is exactly how I like it. Now you might like your waves to not be as aggressive as some of them that I do, and that's fine. You can even take a little bit of this white India ink and mix it into a little dish of epoxy and then drizzle it around if you want a little bit more wave action on yours. But now I'm just going to kind of let these spin. How are we doing on the view, y'all? See how it's just kind of sitting there? The air is going to firm it up a little bit so that I can play with it with a popsicle stick. Let me see. Sandy said the last one. I am not sure which one you were talking about. I started with a darker blue India ink, and then I added a little bit of the iridescent blue, which I'm not seeing a whole lot, so I think I might go back and add just a little bit more of this pretty iridescent blue. It gives it just a little bit of shimmer up in the darker part of the water. And after I used that one, then I used the Bombay Teal. This is India ink also. So all three of those were India inks. And then all the bottles that I used that were this shape are all alcohol inks. There's one other thing that I add into my cups. And I usually get my white on there so it can start to harden a little bit. And this is the other thing that I use, and it's called a mixative. You find it in the store that where the alcohol inks are, which is usually over in the stamping department. And this is called a mixative, and it's pearl. And I only put 1 or 2 drops. It makes the inks separate, but I'll put maybe, you know, okay, that's 2. And now I'm going to put 2 on this cup. The mixatives kind of separate the inks, and it's just another thing that adds a dimension to your cup. And I'll see if you can see what I'm talking about, where I added the mixatives. Here and here, and on this cup right here, right there. It also brought out like a tiny bit of like a pink, but it's just like a little shimmery. There should be another one coming up on this cup, if I can see where I dropped it. Right in this area, I believe. Y'all see how the white is starting to look thicker? So now I'm going to show you how to play with your waves. Let me close up a few of my inks just so that I don't spill them all over my workspace here, because I have done that. I can't be the only one, right? Oh, you're welcome, Sandy. I hope I'm answering the questions that y'all need and that you find this helpful, because these are really good selling cups. Like I said, the one lady picked up her 2 yesterday and loved them and was like, oh, I want 2 more. So I said, how would you like them? She says, exactly like this. Okay, so look at the way my turner is spinning, or the way your turner is spinning, and these two are going in opposite directions. So figure out how you want your waves to, you know, which way you want them to go. I'm going to try and do this where y'all can see. So I'm just going to start messing in my ink, kind of like this. In any places where I put a drop of white. Can y'all see it as it's coming around? That I'm just kind of creating my own wave action. If I want to, I can add a little bit more of the white. Trying to make sure y'all can see. I'm sorry, my tripod is wanting to stay. It's hard to turn it down low enough where y'all can see. Is that better? You're easy to follow. Thank you for doing this. Can't wait to try. Becky, I can't wait to see yours. That's the only thing I ask y'all when you watch my videos. If they helped you, it makes me feel really good if you reach out and say, hey, I watched your video. Look what I made. So on this one, some of the blue came down a little further onto the glitter. And on some of that, I think I'm going to add a little bit more white to make it kind of look like the surf is coming up there. And then on some of it, if it's too much, then when I do my next coat of epoxy tomorrow, I'll just take my glitter, just like you do on the epoxy method for glitter. When you put your coat of glitter on, just sprinkle a little, or your coat of epoxy, you can just sprinkle a little bit more glitter on there. But I am going to add a little bit more white just to make a little bit more surf down there because I like the look. Come on, this stuff is so big. Oh, it's that. Let's see. I'll just add a little more white that I'll be able to bring my waves and my surf down just a little bit. Really, because I like to play with it. And again, once you put epoxy on your cup, you really have about 30 minutes. Now I'm going to start on this one, and I'm just going to start messing in the white India ink, just because that's how I like to do it. Most people just drizzle on their waves. That's fine too. I'm not saying there's any right or wrong. This is just, I like the look of it. And I like to play with inks, and I like my looks to be a little different than, you know, what everybody else is doing. So if you like this look, it's not hard. The biggest thing is to not be afraid to touch your cup, and to just keep telling yourself, if I mess it up, it's just a cup. It doesn't matter. So I'm adding a little bit more white on this one too. Just because now that I saw where I have some waves, I see where I want more. And then I let it go around a few times. Let the air get to it. It kind of thickens it up a little bit. And then I can mess in it more. And it has a more textured look. So here's some that I haven't. So I'll move the camera in just a second and let y'all kind of see a little bit more. But it's the dimension. I don't know. I hope y'all can see, but the dimension just makes these cups look beautiful. And you just have to not be afraid to touch them, because touching them is what makes them so dang pretty. So, anybody have any questions about these kind of cups? Because we're really just about done. It's that easy. Um, when these dry, the white part will be thicker, and I will do another coat of epoxy on them, and then I will sand just a little bit around where the white area is. But don't do that after this coat. Put another coat of epoxy, because then you're going to see the dimension underneath the coat of epoxy, and it won't look like just a flat picture or a flat design. So that is basically it, y'all. I hope that you find this useful, and please tell people about my YouTube channel if they would like to learn how to make one. I am going to be doing my tutorials on this channel from now on, since they seem to either disappear or get screwed up when I try to transfer them over to here. So I'm just going to go on and start doing them here. So if you like them, please subscribe to the page. Let's see if there's any questions that I need to answer. You're very welcome, Sandy. I can't wait to see the ones that y'all make and how you design them. I've done some with lighthouses on them. If you want to do some that kind of look like an aquarium, you could do them the exact same way and just don't put the sand and waves at the bottom. But then you could add some corals and some fish in it, make it look like an aquarium, or, you know, just think about different looks and stuff that you could do, because they really are kind of cool. And there's a lot of different things that you can do using this same technique, combining the India inks and the alcohol inks. So, there I am. There I was. My tripod is having issues. But if y'all get to making them and you have any questions, feel free to private message me. And that is better than putting the comment on the YouTube, because I might not check it for a day or two. But if you private message me your question, I'm usually pretty quick about getting an answer to you. If I don't know the answer, I'll find it. So I hope that y'all have a great day. Thanks for watching.